Kendra was talking with a young man named Eric, the contractor who had worked on her house. That evening, their chat started casually, but Eric's kind and flattering words made her feel noticed and appreciated. When he invited her to visit his house, Kendra agreed without much thought. As they drove there, neither of them realized someone was following. It was Peter, Kendra's husband, who had been secretly watching her for weeks. He tailed them quietly until they reached Eric's house and watched from a distance as they went inside. From that night on, nothing was ordinary. This is Secret Lives of Housewives. Inside, Eric proudly showed Kendra the house he had built. The atmosphere was friendly at first, but after a while, he excused himself to change clothes. Left alone, Kendra began to feel uneasy. Thoughts of her husband and son filled her mind, and guilt took over. She decided to leave and ordered an online taxi to return home. Outside, Peter saw her leaving and felt a surge of anger and betrayal. When Kendra arrived home, she went straight to her son Langston, who was busy setting up a CCTV camera to record birds in their yard. He noticed her outfit looked revealing and asked why. Kendra quickly said she had just come back from her friend Samantha's house. That night, Peter returned home and found Kendra still awake. He calmly asked about her meeting with Samantha. She smiled and said everything was fine. Later, Peter stood in the bathroom, his face tense with frustration. He knew she was lying. The next morning, he told Kendra he would be meeting a client and would return late. Langston also mentioned he would spend the night at his friend Will's house. Kendra planned to meet Samantha later that day. In the afternoon, Kendra relaxed at a cafe, trying to clear her mind. Suddenly, Eric appeared and approached her politely. He apologized for the night before, saying he felt bad for making her uncomfortable. Kendra reassured him that nothing inappropriate had happened and that it was no one's fault. Before leaving, Eric told her she could reach out any time if she needed help. Later that day, after picking up Langston from school, Kendra asked about his day. He replied in a grumpy tone, saying school was boring and the kids were annoying. He complained that everyone formed silly groups, like the ones in old movies Kendra used to watch. When they arrived at Will's house, Kendra spoke with Will's mother, Heather. Heather thanked her for recommending Eric to handle her home renovation. Then, without hesitation, Heather mentioned that Eric had flirted with her and that they had kissed. Kendra's expression changed immediately. On her way home, she decided to stop by Samantha's house. She shared what had happened with Eric, explaining that she had visited his house but had not crossed any lines. Samantha looked relieved, but when Kendra mentioned Heather's confession, her mood shifted. Samantha had introduced Eric to Kendra, and Kendra had later introduced him to Heather. The situation made Samantha uneasy, as she didn't want to feel responsible for causing problems in anyone's marriage. Days later, tragedy struck. Late one night, someone broke into Eric's house and attacked him, leaving him dead. Around the same time, Peter returned home and quietly entered the bedroom where Kendra was sleeping. He stood by the bed, staring at her in silence. The next morning, Kendra drove to Heather's house to pick up Langston. On the way back, she noticed her son seemed upset. When she asked why, he said he and Will were no longer friends because Will had been making fun of him at school. As they passed Eric's neighborhood, Kendra saw several police cars parked outside his house. Curious, she stopped to take a closer look and saw officers carrying a covered body to an ambulance. She asked if the victim was Eric, but no one gave her an answer. Shocked and uneasy, she went home and told Peter what she had seen. He suggested calling Eric to confirm, but his phone was unreachable. Trying to distract her, Peter offered to take her and Langston out for the day, but Kendra declined. She felt too shaken to go anywhere. Later, Samantha called with heartbreaking news. Eric was dead. Kendra broke down in tears. She admitted she had grown close to him while he worked on her house, though nothing inappropriate had happened. Samantha, saddened by the news, ended the call soon after, though Kendra sensed some distance in her tone. That evening, after spending time outside with Langston, Kendra returned home and told Peter the news through tears. Peter looked stunned, unable to believe that someone as young as Eric was gone. The next day, Detective Colin visited Kendra's house to ask about Eric's death. He had seen her near the scene when police arrived and wanted to understand her connection to Eric. Kendra explained they were only close friends. She admitted visiting his house once but insisted she left quickly and did nothing wrong. When Colin asked if Peter knew about her friendship with Eric, Peter entered the room before she could respond. Realizing the situation was serious, Colin asked Kendra to come to the station for a formal statement. After he left, tension filled the house. Peter accused Kendra of cheating with Eric and demanded the truth. Kendra finally admitted she had grown close to Eric while he worked on their house. She confessed she had felt tempted because Eric was kind and attentive, but she maintained that nothing inappropriate had ever happened. Peter, furious and hurt, left the house without saying another word. Later that day, while doing laundry, Kendra found a phone she didn't recognize. She asked Langston if it was his, but he said no. When he pressed her to explain what was going on, she avoided the question. Kendra placed the phone on the table and stepped out for a drive to clear her mind. While driving through town, she noticed Peter sitting in a park with Heather. The sight stunned her. It seemed Peter was also being unfaithful. When she returned home, she saw Samantha's car leaving the driveway. Langston told her that Samantha had stopped by, stayed for a few minutes, then left. When Peter came home later, Kendra asked where he had been. He said he had gone out for some fresh air. She then asked about the phone, but it was no longer on the table. Peter denied taking it, and Langston said he hadn't touched it either. Confused and uneasy, Kendra tried to make sense of what was happening. That night, she called Samantha to share what she had seen at the park and to ask about the ongoing investigation into Eric's death. As she spoke quietly in her room, Langston listened from the hallway, trying to understand the truth his parents refused to tell him. The next day, Kendra went to the police station for further questioning. The officer asked where she had been on the night of Eric's death. Kendra explained she was at home, talking to her friend Samantha until around 10 p.m. She added that Peter hadn't returned home until after midnight. Detective Colin then informed her that Eric had been killed with a wrench. Colin continued by asking if she had seen Eric's missing phone. Kendra, feeling tense, said she hadn't. Their conversation ended abruptly when she received a call from Langston's school. He had gotten into a fight with Will after being teased by classmates. Kendra picked him up and reminded him that fighting never solved anything. Later that day, Langston told her something unexpected. During his stay at Will's house, he had seen Heather leave alone around 11 p.m. That evening, Colin and another officer arrived at Kendra's home again, this time to question Peter. From his room, Langston secretly listened through the CCTV system he had set up earlier. Colin revealed they had obtained security footage showing Peter's car near Eric's house on the night of the murder. Peter couldn't deny it. He admitted he had followed Kendra there because he knew she had been spending time with Eric. He confessed that he returned the following night to confront Eric and warn him to stay away. Peter admitted to hitting Eric but insisted he hadn't killed him. Langston listened quietly as Peter continued. Peter said that after striking Eric, he had wandered around the city to cool down. When asked about Eric's phone and the wrench, Peter claimed he had never seen either. Once the police left, tension filled the house again. Kendra confronted Peter for hiding the truth about where he went that night. The argument escalated until Peter stormed out. Feeling suspicious, Kendra followed him at a distance. Her worst fears were confirmed when she saw Peter visiting Heather's house. When he came home later, Kendra confronted him again. This time, Peter admitted he had known Heather for years and had visited her after the incident, but he insisted nothing inappropriate had happened. Kendra pressed him to confess to killing Eric, but Peter refused. Instead, he revealed that as he left Eric's house that night, he saw Samantha's car arriving. The memory of Samantha's recent strange behavior flashed in Kendra's mind. Without hesitating, Kendra drove to Samantha's house. She accused Samantha of visiting Eric that night and taking his phone from her house to hide evidence. Samantha denied everything and told Kendra to leave immediately. The next day, Samantha visited Kendra's house with unexpected news. She said the police had called her in after Peter reported her. Samantha admitted she had gone to Eric's house that night as part of her work as a sex worker. She claimed she saw Peter hit Eric and threaten him, and she suspected Peter had taken Eric's phone to destroy evidence. From his room upstairs, Langston secretly watched the two women talking in the yard. After Samantha left, Kendra returned to her room and quietly lay beside Peter, pretending to sleep. Hours later, she woke up and realized he was gone. Concerned, she searched the house and eventually found him in the garage, holding Eric's wrench. Shocked, she snatched the wrench and ran toward the bedroom. Peter chased her down the hallway until she reached Langston's room. Panicking, Kendra shouted for Langston to call the police. Crying, she demanded to know why Peter would hurt Eric, but Peter insisted he hadn't killed anyone. The tension grew until Langston, terrified and emotional, broke down in tears. Overwhelmed, he ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and threatened to harm himself. Kendra pleaded with him to stop, telling him how much she loved him and how she couldn't bear to lose him. Her words finally reached him, and he dropped the knife. Then, in a trembling voice, Langston confessed to being the one responsible for Eric's death. Kendra and Peter stood frozen before rushing to hold him. Once he calmed down, Langston explained everything. He had discovered both his mother's secret meetings with Eric and his father's with Heather by spying on their phones. What started as curiosity through his CCTV setup turned into an obsession. On the night Eric was killed, Langston had been staying at Will's house. Angry after seeing his mother's messages with Eric, he texted Eric, warning him to stay away. When Eric ignored the message, Lingston's anger grew. He left Will's house and went to confront Eric in person. During the argument, Eric laughed at him, which pushed Lingston over the edge. In a moment of rage, he grabbed a wrench and struck Eric. After the confession, Peter told Lingston that nothing bad would happen to him. He decided they would protect their son no matter what. Kendra disagreed, but Peter insisted it had been an accident, not a deliberate act. He told her he had already destroyed Eric's phone and said they needed to get rid of the wrench next. The following day, the family drove deep into the forest and buried the wrench, covering it completely. From then on, they tried to return to normal life. But late one night, Lingston was seen sneaking into Will's house. He quietly entered Will's room as Will slept. The screen faded to black as Lingston took his revenge, ending the story in silence. So the moral of the story is if your family starts installing too many cameras, it's time to stop keeping secrets and maybe call a therapist before someone grabs a wrench.